Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something interesting, comparing the draft comprehensive plans for Ann Arbor and Grand Rapids.
Right, Ann Arbor's just came out April 2025, and Grand Rapids was August 2024.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is both cities actually use the same consulting firms, interface studios, and Ningrant partners, both aimed for sustainability. But here's what immediately jumps out. Grand Rapids delivered this massive document, over 500 pages.
Yeah, whole suite of materials.
While Ann Arbor's is, well, it's numbered at 125 pages, but effectively it's under 70 pages of actual content.
That's a huge difference in scale, and it makes you wonder right away about the depth, doesn't it?
It really does. What's going on there?
Well, Grand Rapids, like you said, it's a 506-page package. You've got the main plan, technical appendices, area-specific plans. It's substantial.
It's so much detail.
Ann Arbor's is, comparatively, quite brief. That page count difference, it's striking.
Okay, let's try to unpack this. Maybe start with the planning process itself.
Good idea. Grand Rapids took 4 years. 4. And they had a big 50-person steering committee set up to mirror the city's demographics.
That sounds thorough. And engagement.
Over 4,700 people involved across 4 rounds, and they specifically targeted underrepresented groups. It's all laid out in an appendix. Very documented.
Okay, compare that to Ann Arbor.
Well, Ann Arbor's process was much shorter, around 15 months. The steering committee was smaller, 16 volunteers.
And the engagement.
It seems more limited, mostly library sessions from what's documented. And yeah, the documentation on the results isn't nearly as extensive.
So, pretty stark contrast in process. What about the data they built these plans on? That seems crucial.
Absolutely crucial. Grand Rapids is using more recent data, 2023 American Community Survey estimates, for instance.
The ACS data, right? That's key for population stuff.
Exactly. Plus 2023-2024 economic indicators, quarterly housing data updates. They're really trying to be current. And they tied into regional SEMCOG data.
Okay, and Ann Arbor?
Ann Arbor's plan relies on older 2022 ACS 5-year estimates and an outdated renter vacancy rate.
Older data can definitely skew things.
It really can. There's also a lack of recent economic data mentioned and no reference to updated SEMCOG forecasts. Using lagging data, well, it impacts your baseline, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And you can really see this data difference play out when you look at housing projections.
Oh, absolutely. Grand Rapids projects needing about 14,100 new housing units by 2027.
And they show their work?
Yes. Detailed supporting analysis, clear methodology. They looked at the Kent County Housing Needs Assessment, analyzed the pipeline, affordability by income. It's quite comprehensive.
Okay, now Ann Arbor's housing goal.
It's ambitious. They're aiming for 30,000 to 45,000 new units by 2050.
Wow, that sounds like a lot. How does that compare?
Well, it's 6 to 9 times the regional SEMCOG projection for household growth. And the plan, frankly, doesn't lay out a clear mathematical basis or methodology for how they arrived at that number.
So, a huge goal without a clear roadmap or justification based on current analysis.
Pretty much. And again, limited current vacancy data, no detailed affordability analysis like in the GR plan.
Okay, moving on to infrastructure and the economy. Another big piece.
Right. Grand Rapids quantified infrastructure needs, put cost estimates on them for different growth scenarios, life cycle costs, economic projections, fiscal impacts. It's all in there.
And Ann Arbor.
It's more of a general discussion. Infrastructure needs are mentioned, but without that quantification or cost estimation.
That seems like a major gap if you're planning for significant growth.
It does. And the economic analysis is lacking too. No recent deep dive, surprisingly little on the University of Michigan's huge economic impact, and no projections of the fiscal impact of their growth targets.
So how do they plan to actually implement these visions?
Grand Rapids used 3 distinct growth scenarios. They analyzed the impacts of each and laid out implementation steps. They even have 55 performance indicators and an interactive dashboard plan.
A dashboard to track progress. Okay.
Yeah, makes it transparent. Ann Arbor presents just one growth scenario. No alternatives analyzed, no detailed implementation metrics, timelines, or clear funding strategies laid out in the draft, and no dashboard.
Just one path forward presented without the detailed how?
Essentially, yes.
So when you look at all this, thinking about professional planning standards, like the Michigan Planning Enabling Act.
Well, the Grand Rapids plan, with its extensive documentation and analysis, it certainly appears to align well with those standards, like PAS 578 guidance.
But Ann Arbor's.
The lack of current data, the missing detailed analysis, the single scenario. It does raise questions about whether it fully meets those standards. Does it provide a, realistic, affordable, equitable path? There also seem to be some significant gaps compared to the consultant's contract deliverables, things like a detailed inventory and analysis, SEMCOG coordination, multi-scenario modeling, infrastructure costing. They seem to be missing from this draft.
Interesting. So summing it up, the Grand Rapids plan really shows a much, much deeper dive into data, analysis, and concrete planning compared to the Ann Arbor draft we're seeing.
That's the core difference that jumps out.
Yeah.
Which leaves you, the listener, with a pretty significant question, I think.
Go on.
Given that both cities hired the same experienced consultants, what factors could possibly explain such a massive disparity in the depth, the analysis, the sheer comprehensiveness of these two draft plans?
Right. And maybe more importantly, what are the implications for Ann Arbor residents as they evaluate this vision? Is this the foundation they need for their city's future? Lots to think about there.